Welcome to the Games PR Podcast, your regular dose of video game PR goodness. Sit down, relax, as our team of experts and special guests share tips and tricks to help you level up your PR game with media and influencers.
Hello and welcome to the Games PR Podcast. We're going to have a really interesting episode today, chatting to the Bafta-nominated developer of Falconeer and the upcoming Bulwark, Tomas Sala. Going to be a really insightful chat. My trusty co-host, as ever, Tom, will be joining me on this journey as we hear from Tomas about the game, about all kinds of interesting stories about the back end of Steam, kind of how Next Best and the approach with a live demo will work. Interesting peek behind the curtain. So let's dive right into this one. Welcome to the pod, Tomas. Thank you for joining. It's going to be confusing with two Toms on this one, but speaking of twos, it would be great if you could explain a little bit about the two games you're working on.
That's Bulwark.
That's Bulwark.
That's Bulwark.
Falconeer was air combat, and this
Air
one
combat.
is like it's sort of a organic city builder. Yeah, that's a good word. But you also get to fly around and explore. It's like an open world organic. It's got a lot of buzzwords.
Falconeer made me think I was a World War II fighter pilot, and Bulwark makes me feel like I don't know how to build things. So there we go.
That's more or less correct.
There we go. Exactly. See, it's a good evolution. It's a good evolution between the two things. I think what's most interesting, not to jump on your introduction, Jack, but something that I know we'll discuss later, which I'm very keen for us to discuss with you, Thomas, is the way you're approaching the development and then the release of Bulwark with this very interesting, and I've been speaking about this all week with you, so this whole demo thing you've got going on, the evolving demo, which I'm going to save for now because I want us to get into this later. But yeah, that is I feel like a little breadcrumb to hold the conversation with.
The
if you don't mind,
the dangling carrot. But yeah, if you haven't listened before, I am Jack. I am the host of this. Let's do some airplane stuff today in terms of metaphors and puns. If we're talking about birds and things flying, I'm the pilot of this plane, and I'm joined by my trusty co-pilots, Tom, and our
hello
VIP guest today, Tomas. So I think let's dive into really some of the stuff we're going to talk about today. Tom alluded to the demo there, which is quite an interesting approach that we haven't really seen too many people do. Maybe you'll expand on why not many people are doing it, or why we think, hey, maybe we're going to see a lot more people doing it because of this.
Here we go. The headphones coming out now.
We're getting serious.
There we go.
It'd be great to know some more about what you're working on, what you learnt from the first game. I know something when we speak to devs, if it's their first project, they might not have anything to compare it to. And then for some people, they might have had a project go really badly, but they want to stick it out and try again. Or in a good case, they might have had a really successful debut, and then it's, how do I follow up? What do I do next? So it'd be great to get some insight on that. And some other behind the scenes industry teasings. So yeah, let's.
I think where I'd like to start, and I think you're in quite a not unique, but like an interesting situation, is so Falconeer was your first major release as a solo developer, but you spent quite a lot of time before then working in bigger teams with people. What is that like? How is that from your position as a developer, going from working in these, bigger groups of people to then, I guess, striking out on your own, and that responsibility all becomes yours in that moment?
Yeah, that is a super long. I could fill a podcast on that, but in general, I'd say that most people that work alone have a sort of a history that it's never an end goal for anybody. I know some kids will go out there, I want to be a solo dev, but it's not the healthiest or most fun path, because usually it's more fun to work with other people. It's also more stable and less scary. So for quite, and I did a panel on it at GDC where we talked about, for most of the people there that was a solo dev, it was somewhere they ended up, but not somewhere they sort of steered the ship towards. So I think that's for me. It was working in teams and me having the responsibility of running a business. I think anybody's ever run a business can understand. At some point, it can get to you, and if you make one misstep, you fall down. You might not get up again. So that feeling after doing that for 17 years sort of seeped in, and I was never a really good team player. So I was never the one that had the clapboard or the Jira updated, or let's do another scrum on this topic. I was always, no, what do you want? No, I'm busy, I'm working. What do you want? Well, tell us what to do, Thomas. Yeah, I don't know what you do. I need to finish this thing, and then I'll get. So I don't think I was ever made for the high pressure team sort of very structured creative processes we do now in the game industry. It was fine when you're by yourself and there's 5 people wandering about and you can have discussions and that about it. But that also leads to very unhealthy work practices where you don't have someone in charge who's actually a very capable manager. So I was in that position of being a flawed leader, basically. So I sort of fell into solo development where I said, okay, mental health wise, there's not many options for me left. Luckily, I can do all this shit by myself. Let's just do it. And there was an opportunity there, and I just ran with it. So that's more or less how I ended up doing stuff by myself, and I enjoy it. And there's secondary benefits. I've got 3 kids; they're running around as we speak. That's why I put the headset on, because they were screaming from the garden. Got a shed in the garden. I'm doing I'm doing the little the writer at the end of the shed, at the end of the lane type of thing, where the kids are in the garden. I'm working. That's all great. So, but those are all side benefits from apparently I'm really good at working by myself, not great in the team.
Well, I think the releases so far perhaps indicate that. I do think that's interesting, though. Aside from the obvious, because there are some obvious things that are different between working on your own and working in a team, what do you think's the biggest? What do you think is there like one thing which you've noticed the most is very different from not relying but having that wider team of people to then just being on your own? Is there something which sticks out?
Well, no meetings. So you have the fathers. What are you going to do today? Whatever's fun. So that is a huge. You can really go wherever you want to go creatively. So you inevitably end up in a much more artistic position than you would in a team where you're much more focused on an end goal, finding all the steps, getting everybody on board. When you're by yourself, you have none of that, and that's actually excellent. If you really enjoy it, you really need to fuck off and do whatever you want, and not care too much about deadlines or anything. If you can create that space, you can do miracles. So that is really different, because if you do that in a team, you're gonna crash and burn. And then the opposite is that when things go south, you're by yourself, so you take all the hits. So that those are the main 2 things that, because always something goes south. At some point you're there, and you can have publishers or PR people backing you up, but that's not the same. Someone that goes home at 9 and you're still sitting there thinking, this is the future of my kids, for my family. I can't go back to working somewhere. I'm completely fucked. And you'll be left in that trip. So that is those are the 2. The upside is you don't give a fuck, but the downside, you do give a fuck, and when you get into trouble, you're gonna be fucked. Oh, can I swear? By the way, are we okay?
Absolutely.
Well, it's too late now. I mean, it's not really. We've not had precedent before, but
No
at this
holds
point,
barred.
yeah, it's okay.
I know Eurogamer did that. The article you were talking about, they've kept in all the fucks. I think I have the dubious honor of having the most fucks in a single article on Eurogamer.
That's a selling point.
That's an achievement
Yeah.
in itself. Yeah, I'd be putting that. That deserves to go on the Steam page, I think.
But that leads me
most explicit.
That leads me to my question of, if you're then fulfilling every role almost in the game dev as yourself, you're speaking that you're having to do your own press, your own marketing. I guess you have the ability to brand yourself how you like, rather than having to feel a certain, this is how the company's perceived. But if you come from a game dev background, have you had to sort of learn the ropes as you go about what you can and can't do, or what does and doesn't work from areas outside of game dev?
Yeah, I a lucky thing or not, depending on who you ask. I spent quite a bit of my time making video games for brands. So worked for, I don't know, Pepsi, God knows, all the BMW. Back in the late 90s, well, not late, early 20th century, the web game era. So I spent a lot of time around proper marketing people and James what's it, JWT and TW whatever, all these guys sitting in London in the city type agency. So I got some reflected on me. So when we did the Falconeer, we did have so I took on a publisher because I couldn't do everything myself. So I need someone to back me up and provide some stability for my madness. And when we did the Falconeer, we could sense that people were latching on to this narrative, solo guy, and I just came out of burnout. And I think lots of people that go through sort of a tumultuous time, they come out a lot more open than they go in. You talk to a lot of therapists and you start talking to anybody. You're that. So I was quite open about that, and that sort of connected with people. And then you have to have a think, okay, are we going to run with this? Because branding yourself as a dev, even if it happens organically, it's something you need to be conscious of. So it's been so the publisher rightfully asked, "Do you want to do this, or do you want to be nameless, or we put a studio name on it?" It's a choice, and it'll have consequences. And we got, I think, in the first week, because I remember we're at Gamescom. So this must be 2018. So a couple of before COVID, before the release of the game. Just signed a deal with Wired, and we put out a trailer at Gamescom, and it did really well. And this was our first sort of when the rubber hits the road. And what happened is a site called One Angry Gamer. I mean, maybe you remember that, which was an alt-right gamer site reviewer, a really angry guy who afterwards, a year later, really burnt out and started calling. It was a horrible person. He put on he saw the trailer and he loved it. So he put on his alt-right, pretty anti-woke Gamergate website that he loved the Falconeer trailer and how morally corrupt are the AAA studios that one guy can come up with this original ideas and all everything they do sucked. And we did. I'd never heard of this, so I saw the preview, and the publisher went, "Wow, that's cool. The people are liking it." And they had never heard of this website, and went, "Well, this website smells." And I remember sitting at Gamescom going through it, and it'd been up there for a day. So I'm scrolling down, and at some point, someone is in the comments of the community of that website and says, "Oh, that looks pretty cool, but I've checked out this guy's YouTube channel, and all the NPCs in his game are black. Look," and it put up a video of another, and it's all my NPC. I had a generated NPC, so they were all the colors of the, properly, and not everybody was white. No, fuck. And they tagged onto it, and the next comment is, "Oh, maybe this is one of those race traitors." And the next comment is my LinkedIn page and a photo of me at my graduation. And so that devolved in a thread where people were just, "Who's this guy?" And they wanted to box me in as some woke whatever or white justice. Well, I don't know. So that was a fairly brutal awakening where you go, okay, people are really investigating you, who you are, whatever. And these aren't nice people. These are very angry, right-wing, I don't know, anti-woke lunatics. There's nothing else to say. So that was literally, and then we said out, okay, do you want to do this? And yeah, so we still, I still said yes, knowing that stuff. If you're vocal, because I am a very vocal, I have opinions on things, then you're going to attract some weirdos. And I did. So that was there's if you do it, be conscious about all those things, but also then how you position yourself and how you sort of I went to other devs who are much more vulnerable. I'm a mostly white guy in his 40s in Amsterdam, so I am not a vulnerable person in that sense. But I asked, what do you do? I said, yeah, well, you deal with it and you protect yourself. So that was a weird. I don't know. That's a weird tangent, but that's one of the things that happens when you go down the journey. Say, okay, we'll put myself front. And the positive is that you have a hook for marketing and PR, which is useful, and people get to know you. And the stuff I make is quite personable and artistic, and it's about my own struggles. And people, I wrap it into sort of very polished looking games, but they're all quite artistic, long, slow, and that disappoints people sometimes expecting something else. But I've had wonderful conversations with players about mental health or whatever come from that. So it's great if you're there and open and available. But yeah, everything needs to be done consciously, otherwise you're going to end up in a mess. If that makes sense.
I think no, yeah, that does make. I think something that you said there, which I find really interesting, it's again something that I've seen you say before, is the fact that you very much put yourself into your games and that they are a reflection of you, and the you kind of the some of the choices that you make are. And I guess that's something that the freedom that you have of doing things on your own means, even though with Bulwark people are giving you feedback and you're making changes based on that, and you're engaging people based on those potential changes, you still have that. I guess you have the vision, don't you, of what you want to make? And is there really anyone telling you to not go in that direction within reason?
Well, that's if you go into that area, that's a struggle when you when you put something out there and let people comment on it and you engage. Because I engage with everybody on Steam or Twitter. Now, I've sort of limited. I'm not on TikTok, because God knows, but everybody that posts, and they'll get pretty toxic sometimes. But I'll always respond with kindness. Do get upset sometimes. I've learned from that. But I don't. I never get angry in a sense, but but some people, when you, a lot of my work is because I'm work by myself. Some of the creative choices are born from limitation. So I talked about it. So, and in Bulwark, for instance, there's very little interface to use. So it's a building game, but you can't click. How do you call it? I want the stables here, or click. I want to move my unit here. Click. That interface in itself is such a huge body of work. It's too much for one person. So a minimal interface game becomes a requirement. Thus, you get really weird interfaces. Thus, you end up somewhere new. So it's how do you call it? It's a trick, or how do you call it? It's a minimal requirement is that you're gonna make some weird shit because you're by yourself. How people respond when you put it out, you get, of course. So just for months, people have been hounding me that the new game doesn't have, when they press WASD, the camera doesn't pan.
No, the camera doesn't move
Because you're stuck to a tower. And they've been hounding me for months that, I've been playing city builders for 20 years. And there is a limit where I'll go, no. It's not the vision is that you're focused and it makes other things easier. And if you can't explore in it. So you have this argument. And then you have to at some point you have to have an honest conversation with yourself where am I being bullish, or how do you call it? Pig-headed, maybe that's the word, and don't want to give in. And where do I say, okay, I'm losing a substantial part of your audience? And in that case, I had spent, and it was sometimes the most simple things are the most difficult. Making that camera panning was weeks of annoying, opening up old code that hadn't been designed to do that. It was horrific. At the end, I did it. So in that sense, sometimes you cave. In other things, I never cave, because the idea is still that, okay, I added camera, but it's a Thomas camera pan. So it still limits you. You're tethered basically. So yeah, I want to give players what they want. I also want to make money and survive. I don't want to go back into the general population again and have to sing for my supper.
You can't be leaving the shed. You can't be leaving the shed for any.
I mean, sorry.
It's a perfect place to. Yeah, now that you're in the shed, there's no reason to leave. It's the perfect place to be.
Once you have this taste of freedom, you don't ever want to go back. So yeah, I want to. So there is a thing, but there is a phase to everything. So there is a phase where you're when I developed the game, it's the difficult first 60% where you're just figuring out what the fuck am I making. That is in near total seclusion. I'll sit and do it. I'll put it on Twitter to get some. Oh, look, I made something cool because we're all weak artists that want. How do you call it?
Need
We
that
need
validation. Need that
validation, and oh,
validation.
look, it's cool. Do you think it's cool? All that shit. You'll do all of that, but you're just doing it by yourself. And at some point, you have the gestated idea, and the rest of the process is just finishing the idea, filling in the content, and making sure it works with people. So there is a phase of artistry, and then there's a phase where like you're making a movie, the edit needs to be good, and if people don't get your edit, why are you making the movie? Your art form has certain craftsmanship requirements that if you go in too bullish, people are not. The gaming is the most annoying genre to annoying medium. I can listen to a song and I can't turn it off. I can't stop hearing. I can read a page and I'll usually end reading it, even if the book is bad, because I already read half the book. But in gaming, the moment I stop fiddling with my fingers on that stupid thing, when I stop doing this, everything stops. It is a non-object. It's dead. So there's always where you have to listen to players, even if you don't like it or you don't want to do it. But apparently, yeah, this one for Bulwark was interesting. I thought it was a simple interface. You have two buttons. You select something, you build something, and then there's no mistakes. You build whatever you want. There is no heavy micromanagement. There's not even a victory or lose condition. And it was that's apparently, you know, um, to combine it with something that attracts hardcore players and looks cool and has dragons and ships and guns. That is such a radical idea. People just got angry from the shock of the new. People said, it's so fucking different. They just want to sit down and play whatever they played yesterday, but with cooler graphics. And then along comes Thomas, and he makes something that is going to fuck you up.
Don't make anything different. It is. I find it. I do find it really interesting. And why was there something that made you decide to do the evolving demo the way that you
Yeah.
have? Because I cannot imagine that that's easy for you as a developer to have to deal with a very direct way of people going, change this, change that. What about this?
Daily,
what about
right?
that?
Well, and what day? Multiple times a day, and so there's and Kaki, you're in the business. And once someone is happy, they're not going to post unless they finish the game and they're ecstatic and they'll come on Discord. But if something goes wrong, they'll immediately start complaining on Steam. So it's a lot of negative attention, and it's not evened out by the positive stuff of the people coming in Discord. I love this. I had someone who said, I have cerebral palsy. I'm housebound. I've been playing this for days nonstop. Can I please have a key? It's like, so there's also these free positive stories where you go, that's lovely. People sharing literally things they've made. But then on the other side, you've got this bucket of people that aren't happy. Um, I always try, because I'm a super anxious person. So I will mentally have to go, okay, remember, Thomas, they were so excited by the game. They went online when it wasn't what they expected, or they got stuck and said they didn't like it, but they want to like it. Otherwise, they wouldn't say anything. So that is the mental mantra where you go, and try to deal with it. The reason I did it initially is because with the Falconeer, I didn't do any of this. I didn't even have a demo. I think that was just starting up the entire Next Fest demo. This it was 2019 with 2018. We didn't know. But I don't have time for that. It's not a must. No, it's not a must. I should have done it. We did a closed beta and stuff like that. But in the end, the game was very idiosyncratic for people, hard to get. It would either connect or not connect. And it did the same thing. So some people flew around, had the same vibe. I started to explore and got this sort of sad, emotional tone of the game, that it's slow and you're building up and there's no heroes. And every time you do something heroic, you get punished. That is, people hate. So at the end of every chapter in the Falconeer, because I think we are dealing with heroism wrong in our industry. We're just celebrating violence, not heroics, and heroics isn't violence. So every time you end a chapter of the game, you die and you lose and you get reset. and you become someone else.
See, I will be honest with you. I played it when it first came out on the Switch. I bought it again last night because I want to play it on my Steam Deck. I didn't like that. I didn't complain about it, but I didn't like it. But I did. I respected the decision, but I didn't like it.
So people, and then the first chapter was also really slow. So that's a mistake I should have fixed. But that the artistic mistake that you are actually the person lying in front of the chanty lady in the cutscenes, and you're being shown the memories of the people that basically caused you to die or get into a coma. This person is trying to heal. It sounds very weird and meta, but fuck artistic stuff. But what happened is that when it got released, I also had got COVID, and all that time was fucking horrific for me. I was sick. I fixed some things that made the build twice as more difficult as it was intended to be. The game was too slow to take off. Didn't realize that. And some people absolutely fucking adored it. Also because of it, but mostly because they could, feel all the personal stuff in there. And lots of reviews didn't get it, and lots of people. And then I've got, the mouse integration was good. It was made for the fucking Xbox, but we had to deliver it. So all this fucking, and it was a good success. I'm still here, but all of this came at the same time, and it just literally broke me. And when you're by yourself, there's no escape hatch. I just had to sit there for 6 months, fix the issues with the game, fix the initial bugs, answer all the people, do all the work. I just have to do all the work. And at some point, it's not fun anymore. And you burn out a little bit, and that's dangerous for me. So it's dangerous for anybody. But it's something to take care for. But there's nobody else that's going to pay my mortgage. So when Bulwark rolled around, I thought, I don't want that anymore. I don't want to be, nicely old. You can be, how do you call it, cocooned in your, the potential of a game.
You can be a little bit ignorant to what people are saying because you don't know what they're going to say.
Yeah, and it's lovely because it's only potential. The graphics look good, and then boom, and then it's too much. So I thought, okay, I don't want to do that because that's unhealthy and it's dangerous for your game. Because you're not validating all your choices. It's 100% art, but it's not. But I do want it to be 30% commercial success, maybe. So I thought, I'll do I can't do early access. So when we're talking the business, when you do early access, you take gamers' money, and they get a righteous sense of entitlement because they paid money. And I think that's fair. So what they want is a team that gives them roadmaps, deliverables, timelines, communication, what's happening this week, what bugs got fixed. And that's a day job. And even with the publisher, I don't have someone that can explain to the publisher what got done and why issue X or why the timeline or the roadmap isn't working. I am that person as well. So that doesn't work, I felt. So I thought that'd be dangerous because you can't deliver, and then you get lobbed into and as everybody says, a early access release is the same as a regular release. It's basically your release. So you've got to do all the things, and so it solved nothing for me. So I had it sit, and then Steam came out with that playtest feature, which wasn't great. It was very hidden, and it was very closed beta, and that doesn't give you that gives you fans that play your game for a little bit. And it's the same as a Discord beta, in a sense. It doesn't give you that raw fucking come on, we hate this game, motherfucker vibe. It can. I've seen it gone south. But I wanted some of that. I didn't want all of it. So I thought, okay, I'll make a demo. I'll call it the Evolving Demo. We'll put it online.
Fancy words.
The publisher said, "Oh, we like that." Okay, they're great. I have a lot of fun with them. We'll put it online, and people can just play it, and we'll make sure to communicate clearly that it's not done. That this isn't defined. It's not early access. It's for free. I'll put all the content in. And I chucked it on. And it was quite nice, actually. The occasional, I don't like the controls, but lots of people liking it. It's done quite well. It's garnered a decent amount of wish lists. Most people understand that it's not done. and for those people, I've had to do weird things. So because it's a weird game, and this shock of the new, that's part of the game. I had to put myself in as a character that explained, "Hey, welcome to my game. It's about this and that. Make sure to do this and that, and it's not finished. Thank you very much." Which then helps with branding yourself. So it becomes this weird, unique thing, and that went really well up until the mix, basically. And it was nice. I think because it's I get a lot of people say, "Oh, the controls suck, and we need WASD camera panning," and I made it. So by the time launch rolls around, I know that's one motherfucking issue. That's not coming back. I just released Monday, so I don't know if it's good, but there's time to go.
They've got it now. They've got it now. They can make do. They've
Well,
complained enough.
part of that is from a design perspective. If you give people, they have this muscle memory where their fingers are on the WASD and the mouse, and when the fingers in a second don't feel what they're supposed to feel, they'll get obsessed because that's how it works. That's a basic human thing. So by giving them this tethered panning, they can do the stuff, and it is quite practical. I now use it as well. So hey, all good. It's there now. So that's what there's other issues probably to fix, and people have other, but I think that was a main one. But the game has been improving incrementally for months now. You wouldn't recognize it if you played it in January when we nearly sort of started with this. It's got so much more polish. It's got so much more issues were identified and removed. Tutorials were improved. I think I've now spent the entire 4 months that has been on just doing the fucking tutorial and onboarding. Which I guess, learning from the Falconeer, if you do that at the end, you're going to fail. Better have that be the best part of the game, because then you have people on board.
How do you think...
Go on, John.
You could answer at the same time.
Go on. I'm going to be extra polite and let you speak, please.
My thing was going to be, traditionally game devs, if they are having a play test, it's usually defined as a sort of, the game is almost finished. Here's the kind of play test, the final version. And then if there are bugs and errors, there's only so much you can fix in that time frame before launch. It sounds like this approach, you've been able to fix and adapt a lot more at an earlier stage than kind of leaving it till the last minute as a traditional kind of play test, or like a focus group. We've seen devs even struggle to just get that feedback because there's no way of them getting that feedback unless they are, like you said earlier, chucking it out to Discord, people on Discord saying like, can you play my game, or going onto Reddit. So I think owning that avenue at an earlier stage has seemingly brought up a lot more scope to change things that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to change.
Oh, absolutely. And it's interesting because, and it is not a fun process. It's more fun than having that all in one at the end. But it's hard work. But the fun thing is now we're 4 months in, and at some point it's going to end the evolving demo because I need a holiday and stuff. But I'm actually converting some of the people that were, this is horrible. And then they come, I tried it again. Oh, it's actually solved some of my issues. Oh, I put it back on my wish list. Yesterday, I put, wish list is back on. I go, it was kind of weird, but thank you. So there is something, I like that. And I learned that I did modding before for fun. And you also have this open, you make something and then people start requesting something and it's all free and nobody gives a shit if it doesn't work. And I say, okay, put that in, and you put it in. And the interaction itself is really, when you do it, it's quite nice. And especially when you do it as vulnerable as possible. So not trying, when you do things on Discord. So there's one, you get the fans. So a fan, and I have a hard time getting the fans. They love sharing their pictures and they're great and we have good intelligent discussions together. But I find because they like me, they won't always say, well, this could be better. They'll report the bugs like crazy, but they won't say, oh, this annoys me. Some of them do, but it's allowing some kid on Steam is always going to say what annoys them. So that's one major advantage. It's instead of, and for PR people or marketing people, this is so they go, what? Why would you want this? Because sure. And then the second part is when you do this, there's always a fresh batch. So you can't reuse testers regularly. You don't have every day is a new cohort of depending if there's a fest of 1,000 or a couple of hundred people that enter the game fresh. So if you're trying to tweak your onboarding, that is a fantastic bonus. Is have all these fresh cohorts come in and you change something, and then instead of asking people, is it better now, which is a ridiculous, useless questions, because then you're no longer proper user testing. Because can you try it again? Does the tutorial feel better? It's useless. You want someone to come in fresh and then see if the tutorial does better. So in that sense, there's a huge. I think this is nice. I haven't seen many devs do that with their demo, because they all go to early access, which I think breeds a different type of how do you call it, interaction.
Yeah, but we've obviously with what we do, we've all had dealing with like early access and things like that, and it was one of the things which made me really interested to speak to you was a clear decision to not do that. And I think that has a lot of merit, because I mean we've worked on. We'll struggle sometimes if we have because it's like what you were saying before about how some people will see an early access launch and they'll see the word launch and they'll just cut off the first two words, and that is a struggle, whether it's consumers, media, which is fair enough. I guess with the way you've gone about it with the demo and also like how personable you are, I think you've spoken about some of the downsides of having that personable nature to development, but do you think that has? I guess you don't regret the decision to do it the way you have. I mean, we've spoken about in previous episodes. We've spoken about using things like the Steam notes and developer blogs and things like that, and that's something which you really do use a lot. And your Twitter's very similar. I'd say your Twitter's quite, again, personable, and also you're always asking people what they think about things, which isn't necessarily a unique approach, but I think the fact that you're nearly doing it every day, when I go on Steam Notes and it's nearly every day, I mean, that is, I don't know, it's a very different approach, I feel, to the whole thing. Which
it's also a danger. Like I said, it has its own dangers, and it goes from last night or a week ago. Someone said, you're like that guy from the submarine in the Titanic submarine, and just doing new stuff because it's new. And then you write a post, how dare you compare with somewhere where 5 people died, and then you delete that post and say, well, let's not talk to each other like that. But hey, this is why I do things like this. So you have these moments where it's personable. It's like, you're always personable. I'm not, I'm a human being. I'll wake up cranky or hurt or whatever. So that takes a measure of self-control, and sometimes you have to say, okay, sorry people, this took a long time. Like doing the camera panning, there was some, I didn't want to do it, but I did it. I can see that it's better. Okay, fine. So there's you have to have a measure of vulnerability where you go, okay, I'll take the hits. For me, that's only possible because I know if I don't do that, the hits will come, in such a crescendo that it becomes unmanageable. So it's a sort of self-protection. I'll listen to you, and then when my game comes out, you can't say I didn't.
they probably will. We all know who we're dealing with. They'll find a way. But...
well, we'll see. That is the the danger of it. I don't know. We might still have a release that's always everything goes tits up anyway, always. So, but at least I've done some of the validating work. It was a new thing. It was nice to market it. It is going to stop because at some point you get in trouble because you have nothing exclusive to give. So you're in the mix, or future game shows. Can we have something? Or you do a press release. You go, what's new in the demo for Summer Game Fest? And then nothing's new. Everything has been online. I added something yesterday, a bug fix. So everything is already out in the open. So you have very little to give in exclusives or stuff like that. Which is, but mostly it is. At some point you need a holiday, and at some point you need to close it up. And because I've been doing onboarding now for soon, there'll be 6 months of just focusing on board. I need to finish the rest of the game, and need some peace and quiet to do that, and then we'll put it up back again to do it again at the end probably. So yeah, the evolving demo. It's interesting. I think people.
It is interesting. It isn't. No, it's very interesting. I think I'd love to. We don't want to hold you for too long, but I'd love to just have a quick conversation about Next Fest.
All right.
I think again, you're in a very unique position with that, and also we, from our perspective, we see things. We have clients who are in Next Fest or who participate in Steam festivals. The media cover it the way they cover it. Sometimes games get loads of coverage, sometimes they don't. I'm just wondering from your perspective, how has it gone? Which I know is a very vague question, but I'm just wondering as a developer where you...
It's gone piss poor. No. I talked to the publisher. Going to be honest about this. So, there is a thing I dislike being so small about Next Fest is that it is obligatory. So Valve pushes you to put the time in to make a demo, release it, and go to this song and dance routine. And there's no way of not doing it anymore. But they're not asking AAA studios to do it. No, they're asking the most vulnerable, most overworked, stressed fucking indies to do this. So I had this. So let me put it kind of in numbers wise, the entire evolving demo is done better than Next Fest. So I could have done without it. What we did is you do this. So you do this. The double hitter. So Next Fest, we all on the Simon Carter's newsletter and on that you need to get 3,000 to 5,000 wish lists. I think that was last year to get a top ranking in Next Fest. If you get top ranking, you get lots of visibility on your early streams and blah blah blah, and you get this little wish list pumping machine going. That's right. I'm sort of condensing it. That's my take on what I thought. And so we sat down with the publisher. We're going to do Next Fest. And then we got an email. So no, we actually. So what? So I have to be careful with. I got an email from Valve saying the game was going to be featured in the trailer or the live stream. And we were still debating: are we going to do this Next Fest or the next one? Because
you only get one, don't you? Is it?
You only get one, and the
one
release
a year, is it?
Yeah.
Or...
And I'm definitely not releasing in 23, so it would have been wiser to the end of the year. But then you get an email from Valve saying, you got featured. And fuck, I've never been featured. Should we maybe do this? And so we have a think. And, what you think is, okay, Valve does everything with numbers and data. So their data must be saying there's an appetite for this game now. It's got buzz value. So you go, okay, let's do this. And this came pretty late before. So suddenly you're, shifting. Okay, let's do this Next Fest. And then the entire PR machine goes going. And then you have to make a choice where you're going to appear, and like I said, I don't have any exclusive for shows at the moment. I didn't have a big ad announcements or, we're going to feature this or have a celebrity voice in there. So so what we settled was the mix in LA, which had a fantastic press. So that seemed like a great opportunity. Was going to be the indie press event for Summer of Games. And then I flew into LA, and we were setting up, and the police came in and canceled the entire mix.
Oh wait, that was the one that got cancelled.
Yeah. So and that was a physical. They had this really cool art dome place in LA. They had a wonderful press list. Everybody was going to be there. Senior Microsoft executives were there. People were outside in the line already. Everybody, every fucking outlet was there. And the fire chief is walking in saying, no, this doesn't have the permits for this amount of people. And they killed it. So that meant I was stuck in LA. I had nothing booked. There was nothing to do. Everybody was busy going to shows. And that wrecks your marketing. And then when we got back, I said, okay, the marketing plan, PR plan is fucked. Shall we cancel Next Fest? And then we said, yeah, but okay. And you have a discussion. It's still being featured. And it then didn't. So we said, okay, let's do it. I said, I really don't. Well, okay, well, let's do it. We're there. We're in a good position. Wishlists are fucking healthy. We got we'll try to do it ourselves organically. And that doesn't work in Next Fest organically. If you don't have that double hitter strategy and you don't have a consumer, the buzz of the day, you're going to be a middle. Yeah, it didn't do poorly. It's not. It
Yeah.
was definitely up there, and it was up in the rankings for a little bit, and it was nicely featured in all the bed. But so on top of that, so the featuring turned out to be a capsule 40 by 40 pixels in the trailer for just a few seconds, and at the I think it was the last game in the nightly live stream when literally the end of the end, there was a little section about Bulwark. That was a featuring. Then we tried to do our live stream. Live stream failed to connect and wasn't scheduled on the homepage. So you said go out to the ticket system. Oh, sorry, so we'll reset it. We can't put the schedule back up. And then they only did this 40 minutes after it was supposed to start. So that's your first slot broken.
You're not painting a great light of the whole thing.
Well, this is just what happened, which is just bad luck upon bad luck. Then we got a free new slot from Valve, and then we did it. Well, push everything for the weekend, and then on Saturday the homepage banner for Next Fest was gone. So and it delivered about 1/5 of the traffic. If you this is an experiment in how you do organically. If you're positioned semi well, you do semi well. But it's
would you say I guess so for you then, because one of the other things that we were discussing was when speaking to you was, so you, I guess for you then there wasn't any real marked difference between what you'd classify as success during Next Fest and then the rest of the time anyway.
Well, there was some. It was a nice hump, a nice hump of wish list, but certainly not what we expected. What it could have done if things had gone right. So if you have bad luck, you have a bad Next Fest. And I've seen people have great Next Festes, but it was. I am not a fan of it because it put so much pressure on me. And what happened? I am extra negative about Lee, and it did reasonably okay. But I nearly burned out of this thing. You're stuck in LA. You can't fly home because you spend money has been spent. You're hustling to get some journalists to look at it. It's and I came back. It was just and my dad had died 2 months ago. So this was negative upon negative. So going on a negative, going into wishlist or Next Fest, I think it would have been better if we hadn't done it, just for my personal sanity. And I can live with what happened, but it was an opportunity that I didn't think was great. I thought the pressure cooking they force you to do. We all know how it works. Everything is about Next Fest. And the demo was done. I didn't do that much work, but it took 6 weeks of, just everything was Next Fest. And then the disappointment when things fail, which happen in the world. My opinion, I think you should, is it nice of a company as rich as Valve to put all these small developers in that pressure cooker? And I went on Twitter, I said, it's Hunger Games for indie devs. And I stick by that because that's how it feels. It's some people will get on top, some people won't. Who got the right slot for the live stream? Oh, someone got 20,000 views, someone got 500 views.
I think was it 987 games.
It's 1,000.
Not all of which had demos, but
no. What I heard was 1,200 games, and then 200 were filtered out because they didn't have their demo live.
Oh, okay.
That ended up to them. So it was they went for 1,200 initially. So it's a Hunger Games for indie devs. And if you don't have a publisher and a PR agency or anything, and or like me, you have some bad luck, you're going to get steamrolled, and it's not nice for a company that could just as easily say, "Hey, we'll do our weekly indie spotlight on the reft on a tiny banner of the hunt page with some curation, whatever, and give all these games individually. You got 365 spotlights a day, a year, and you can do three. Do 3 games a day. That whatever you can do such nice things which aren't a pressure cooker. Fuck them. Let's do it in a week and make it great because it's it's a fest." It's not a fest. It's a Hunger Games for the indie devs. So I'm quite critical of that, and this gets me into trouble, I guess. But I can see it's not a nice way of doing things. It's forced. It's you you turn it into a competition where everybody's scrambling for the same eyeballs. I guess it's great for gamers, but even then, the response for gamers you get isn't, it's overwhelming. When you have that entire platform and you say we want to do something for indies, well, this fucking ain't it, and you can quote me on that.
That's it. That's the front page right there.
That's it. That's the headline.
Please don't put it on the front page. But yeah, no.
Maybe page 5,
that's
page
my
6.
personal experience with it. It says nothing about the publisher or whoever.
I again, that's interesting because I think you've led on to something which we wanted to ask, and you've kind of answered it. So I'll ask it. You've already somewhat answered it though. But considering then how, I mean, it's no secret. If anything, it's an open secret that like the industry now in terms of releases is compared to 10 years ago, it's this scale of which we could never imagine. What do you think then can be done, not just like in Steam's case or, be it like console manufacturing, that kind of, what can they do to highlight things? What do you think can be done going forward to support independent projects then, if this isn't the answer?
I think, there's many answers to this. I don't have the claim to be there. I can only say that, spread it out for fuck's sake. Or, well, if you have that platform, you have all that eyeballs, do something nice, something human scale, something curated, which picks out things that don't have a spotlight. Or I think the main criticism I have is when you make everything, and this doesn't go for Valve, this goes for the App Store as well, because I have that I have a lot of history with that, or the Play Store. When you let the algorithm decides, people will buy their way up, because you buy eyeballs that influence the algorithm, then you get more eyeballs. And that if you open up, and I say this, I've opened up Nordic games with that. I would say, well, open up your phone, look at the Google Play Store or and look at the top 10. Don't go to Google Arcade or Apple Arcade, and it's all fucking garbage by the same 10 company.
Look right now. We'll do a live look.
Well, do a live look. It is, most of it is the same shit by the same people, and there is, is this a real ranking of the best and the brightest and when you let the computer decide, everybody there will feel, it feels horrible because you're rejected by a computer. I don't make, the Falconeer there was no genre fantasy air combat, still isn't. So you're fucked from the start because the machine says no. You're always going to fight the algorithm. How, in a world where you're trying to help people who do artistic small things or vulnerable voices, is that the computer decides who wins? Well, how dystopic is that? When you have all the money in the world to say, well, we'll have a little part of the website that's always featuring, an indie or an interview or a little article about what did we like today. How difficult is that? Instead of doing a fest fully automated where people have to spend tens of thousands of euros to get into shows, to get a wish list so that the ranking is up and the velocity is up. And so it's just human skill stuff. Be human. And that is that, because everybody at the indies level isn't machines. We're not giant corporations with millions in the bank. We're just people. And everybody gets anxious, and you come out either hyped because you made 20,000 wish lists or depressed. I've never met anybody that came out of it was okay, it was nice to do. No, everybody's either sad or, yeah, I had 30,000 wish lists. And guess, the most of them will be in the sad category. So it's a winner take all system. And how is that? So I think that's, if you design your stores or your platforms and you want to do something where you go, okay, let's not make the profit this day, let's say it's 0.5%, be nice if some, minority voice or, someone who makes something unique or different gets a bit of a spotlight. And you do that for 1,000 games a year. How difficult is that? And we'll do that also by realizing those are actual usually vulnerably pretty fucked up people trying to survive, don't have mortgages, don't drive fucking Teslas. Talk to an indie dev. Especially from the last 5 years, they're all piss poor fucking devs. They just want to survive. Talking about how they can have kids or something. You want to do something for those people, do something nice, and don't design a giant algorithmic, telethon for a week. No,
I feel like we've just had a very pleasant revolution take place, which I'm fully in support of. That was
do something nice. I think that is a good place to
wrap
wrap it up on, really. Because I mean, we've covered a lot, and I really appreciate you sharing some of those insights that a lot of devs aren't willing to share. When things aren't going right, people try and hide it and absolutely shout about when things go well. So it's refreshing.
I'll do the same. I'll try to market everything as positive. But when you ask me, it's people don't. I think you're right. People don't often tell it when it goes wrong, and that's also dangerous because you end up with this false industry where people can't say when they're in the shit. Where everything has to be great and grand. Well, yeah. Anyway, yeah. It was a positive note. Let's not bring it down.
We're so happy now. Oh no, reality has set back in. God damn you, Steam. God damn you, Steam. No,
let's be said. I don't think this is the people at Steam that they're working hard to make all this world. But there is a natural disconnect with people at the top, and I've met some of them, and they're super nice, and the people at the bottom. And I don't think it's unless someone says, this on a personal level, this is a horrible experience. They can actually, ever hear that, because when they're so powerful. Anytime I'll meet someone from VAMS, I'll just bend over and kiss the floor they walk on, because they allow me to survive. So I'm pretty sure, it'd be better if everybody was a little bit more honest.
Look at that, another great life lesson right there to take away.
To fly away with, to go back to the bit at the start as we're talking about aerial things.
To fly away on your warbird, your vessel of war.
We've referenced it a couple of times. Where can people find you if they want to find out more?
Bulwark is on Steam. Just Falconeer, Google it. There's 2 games in that thing. I'm usually on Twitter. I'm trying to lay low for a little bit, just recuperate after the last couple of months. At Falconeer Dev, and there's an official Discord. Just Google the Falconeer and the Bulwark Discord, which is a really nice, friendly community where most people can drop by, even if you have very spicy takes on what you think the game should be or something. Actually, that's super appreciated. So
we want the spicy takes. Bring the spicy takes to the Discord.
And Twitter is mostly for ranting about AI or doing responsible things as designers and stuff like that.
Or retweeting lots of different
people. We'll add all those links in the description.
Things, or the little. I wouldn't call them cities. I don't know what to call them. I don't know.
I would call them settlements or fortresses.
Settlement.
I don't know, creations. We have to figure out. All the wording on this is weird. So
it's your game. You're allowed to. If you want the wording to be weird, make the wording weird.
Well, I didn't know.
You have.
Bulwark is apparently not a proper English word, and it's a Dutch or American word, and most Brits go,
is it not?
That? Yeah.
Well, I need to redo my intro because I messed up the pronunciation. It's not a word.
I don't know how to pronounce it, but in America, it's a more common word because the Dutch in America, but it's Bulwark. Yeah, it's a sort of a Dutch part of a fortress. So it's like, kind of funny. You learn stuff.
I like that.
I do. I didn't know that before today, but now I do. Thank you.
Yeah, that'll be my mission, is try and use that in a sentence next time, naturally, without someone going, what?
That would be a very hard thing to achieve, getting that in a sentence.
We like it. I'll see what I can do. But excellent. That's it. End of episode. Thank you very much for your time. Like I said, we learned a lot. Some great insights there, and some definitely spicy takes from yourself as well. But really refreshing to hear. So thank you once again. Thank you, Tom, for lining this one up.
All right.
All right. You're right.
Yeah, we'll record our outro.
I thought you meant it could have meant both Toms, but I thought it would have given you your full official title rather than just Tom.
You're all chopping letters off. If you thank you T and thank you Thanks for listening to this episode of the Games PR podcast. You can give it a like and share if you find it useful. Share it with someone who will find it useful. We're available on all good pod platforms. If there's one we're not on, let us know and we'll jump on it. I feel like we're pretty much everywhere these days. We're still on Twitter, as everyone leaves that, but we're still here. I think we need to start. We'll chat to the social team about what we need to join next. But you can find us on Twitter for now at Big Games Machine. Do say hello, give us a cheeky follow, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks again for listening. See you again soon.